lot of organizations, a lot of institutions, it's very natural. They tend to focus on their own knitting. They stay in their own lane. And some of the deepest problems that we all face require people to cross boundaries, require people to talk to each other. And there's got to be an organization that does that in Kenosha. And the organization that does that here is BOF.
Several years ago, when Building Our Future first started, it began with Gene Moran and other community partners coming together. And what they did was they convened a group of business leaders, education leaders, community leaders from throughout our community to really take a look at Kenosha and what did the future of Kenosha look like and what issues are dominating, our community. And that group came up with this consensus that education was the biggest issue that would impact our future.
Our driving vision for Building Our Future is to make sure that all of our young people have the opportunity to achieve economic mobility. And what do I mean by that when I say economic mobility? So we want every young person to have the access and opportunities to chart their own path to the career of their choice. We are that place-based partnership, that collective impact. And so we bring all of our community partners together. If you're from the business community, nonprofit, our K-12 partners, higher ed, the community at large, we bring the community together as equal partners around key outcome areas, knowing that if we want to achieve large-scale success, it takes bringing the village together.
So only 36% of kids were reading at grade level in Kenosha in 3rd grade. If your reading isn't at grade level, it's only going to hurt every other subject that you're involved in.
So much of the work that we do starts with data. It starts with us looking at data, looking at what the outcome, what the numbers look like for our community, and then saying, what can we do to improve that?
If businesses need employees and children need education, they really need each other.
So we basically do two things. We build networks and we build capacity. We look at the different stages of advancement and development in the life cycle of a child. We find people in our community that are actively engaged in the work around those areas. So we talk about kindergarten readiness. Who in our community is already doing work in that space? Daycare providers, teachers, Head Start administrators. And we bring those folks together and we build a network, and then we create goals and we help kind of project manage the success of that network meeting those goals.
BOF provides genuine value that we would not have without it in a number of ways. First, we're connected to a national network of organizations like BOF that are bringing communities together and delivering resources that come nationally into local communities.
The challenge with working together beyond just one project is whose job is it then to manage and to follow up and to organize and to align and do all the behind the scenes things that it takes to actually maintain partnership. And so what BOF does is all the kind of the dirty work that nobody wants to do in terms of making sure that partnerships are long-term and last so that we can change outcome. This is long-term work, not short-term.
Snap-on recognizes the connection between education and building the future workforce. It is imperative that Snap-on and other corporate leaders in the Southeast Wisconsin support building our future.
The business community, they have a vested interest to make sure that our young people are having a good experience while they're in the K-12 system. We're talking about the workforce for today and for the future. And we want to make sure that Kenosha stays competitive as a community, as a county, and that it's vibrant, it's diverse, it's strong, and welcoming for all, right? So it's essentially that we're creating a Kenosha that's for everybody.
We need these kids. We need these kids to be thriving. And my favorite thing to think about for everyone else is, what if Johnny is the guy that's going to find the cure for Alzheimer's, and we're going to let him fall through a crack? See, that gives me the chills every time I think about that. And so I would love to see this work be part of the strategic plan for every organization in Kenosha.
Over the years, Building Our Future has done some good work. I think we're just getting started and scratching the surface on what we can be and what we actually mean to this community.
Hey, I'm Brandon Morris, and I'm the Partnership Development Manager at Building Our Future.
Hi, my name is Maggie Campbell. I'm the Director of Strategic Initiatives at Building Our Future.
Hopefully you guys are all here excited and ready to be a part of the Youth-Led School Board Candidate Forum. We're thinking, hey, we're advocating for students every single day, and what better than to have students at the table? We don't like to do the work to and for the students, we like to do the work with the students. And having them a part of the process was extremely important. Why not have them use their voice to lead the work?
Tonight, the students are setting the stage for a great event. They have been planning this event since September. They put a lot of time putting together these questions that will be directed to the candidates from the students so that the students are asking questions that are important to them.
I promise you, you guys are in for a treat. These young scholars are amazing. Sit back and enjoy the show.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Destiny Garcia, a freshman at Carthage College, and I also just so happen to be the intern here at Building Our Future. I want to thank you for joining us tonight, both here in person and those on the live stream. And of course, I want to extend a big thank you to Gateway for hosting the venue and for Upload Partners for streaming. Building Our Future believes that it is essential to elevate those closest to the problems that we seek to solve in the community. As we work with partners from across Kenosha to improve outcomes for students, we believe the youth voice is an important part of that process. As a brief overview for tonight, each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer with a 30-second warning yellow card raised from Tanvi, the timekeeper. We respect and appreciate everyone's time tonight, so we will not have public comments because time will not permit. Thank you for understanding. So I'm asking for a huge round of applause for these students as I present to you Building Our Future's 2024 to 2025 Youth Voice Project.
Hi everyone, and welcome to tonight's event. My name is Tanvi Agrawal and I am a sophomore at Lakeview Technology Academy. Tonight's event is hosted by a group of Kenosha Unified School District students representing Harborside and Lakeview. This school board candidate forum is supported by Building Our Future, a local movement with a clear purpose to engage our community to provide an environment in which all contribute and excel. We would like to give a special shout out to the 6 students who have been involved in Building Our Future's Youth Voice project. It has been a pleasure to work with and get to know each of you during this process.
Hello and welcome again. I'm Lydia Orrick, a senior at Harborside Academy. Building Our Future is proud to be back for our 4th annual Youth-Led School Board Candidate Forum. Centering the voices of those most impacted by decision-making is essential to building our future. Those voices are us, the students, the youth. We assure you that the 6-month Youth Voice Project from the CABA Training Center to the United Way Conference Room, we took the time to prepare for tonight, and it was very, very important to us. We believe that students offer powerful perspectives on their school experiences and directly speak results of the decisions that are made by the adults. This event is a mark of the youth voice. We have planned the event, created the marketing materials, and co-created the questions to make this night possible. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Salim Bigden Russell. I'm a senior at Harborside Academy. Tonight's event will hopefully get people more involved in the upcoming school board election and inspire people to continue their interest in future elections and decisions made around what's best for our educational learning environment. Please note, Building Our Future does not endorse any individual candidates.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Waite, and I'm a sophomore from Lakeview Technology Academy. We will start off by giving each candidate an introduction and opening statement. Please share your name, job experience, and why you would like to be a member of the school board. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer with a 30-second warning yellow card raised from the timekeeper. The red card signals time is up. We will start with Valerie Kretschmer and move down the row.
Hi, my name is Valerie Kretschmer. My background is I have a marketing degree from Northern Illinois University. I'm a businesswoman, so I'm experienced working with school districts. I work with Chicago Public Schools, Milwaukee Public Schools on improving their procurement efficiencies and consolidating contracts. So I'm experienced with cost savings in the procurement area. So the reason I'm running is I am advocating for more transparency in budget spending, also clear communication from the district, and meeting the legal requirements of our students with disabilities or their IEPs. I'm a proud mother of two beautiful daughters, one who is a KUSD student at ITA. She also has a disability. So I'm all for updating security and safety in our schools, but I believe there needs to be policy change with that. Our students and our staff do not currently feel safe, and we need to make sure that we are enforcing policies in our schools so that no one can enter a building that doesn't identify themselves or doesn't have a reason to be there. So I'm working with staff and parents currently to fix issues in the district and provide resources to provide solutions to a lack of resources. And we need to get back to what's most important, which is educating our students. Thank you.
My name is Andreas Mamalakas. I'm running for school board. Like Valerie, one of my main focuses will be on the financial accountability. And I'm going to take a step back. I'm an attorney. I practice in real estate law. I actually do appeals for property assessments, commercial and residential, which is a direct correlation with the taxation and involves where your money goes for schools and other public entities. So a big part of my push will be a full audit of the budget. It would be a zero-base audit, which means we look at every line item. We do a full from scratch, which may have not been done in years. This will help restore the trust in the community. We know that the referendum didn't pass, so we need to restore the trust. This will restore faith in the board, in the district, and this will go a long way also to being transparent. Some of the key issues that the people are focusing on. Secondly, and in a way more important, I want to go back to core educational subjects. We've been distracted, we've moved away. We see from the statistics that we continue to drop with reading skills, the most fundamental skill out there. So I want to go back to the basics, start at the core, and then go from there. Thank you.
Good evening, excuse me. Good evening, everybody. Carl Bryan, and I'm running for school board. I wanted to start off by thanking all the students at Building Our Future. As having been somebody who ran for school board at the age of 18 myself, I am certainly inspired by, this active group of young learners and wanting to take an active stake in the things that go on in their district, because we do know that every decision that gets made by the adults do impact the students. So I appreciate your voice and your perspective. You may remember me as somebody who used to be on this school board. I had served on the school board for 6 years during some very difficult times, during Act 10, during the Great Recession, during a lot of difficult moments that impacted our school district in profound ways. Since that particular moment in time, I have moved on in my career to work for 10 years and counting at the Wisconsin DPI, where I'm involved in a number of different things, that being I work on the department's state budgets, I work on rules and regulations that get teacher in the profession, I work on advocating for and against legislation that impact public schools. And I'm here because public education is in a difficult moment right now. And I'm confident that with my perspective, I could provide the experience and the leadership that's necessary to get us through some tough times, especially as it comes to the failed referendum and things that we're seeing at the state and national levels. This perspective is critically important, and that's why I'm hoping you'll support me.
Well, good evening, everyone. This is an awesome opportunity. First, I'd like to start by thanking everyone at Building Our Futures, and you're such a great representative of what our future is going to look like. I feel very good and secure about that. Just want to touch what Carl spoke to about being elected at 18 or running and then being elected the following time. I was right there beside him, helping him along. I believe in the students in this district so strongly and so profoundly. I can't state it strongly enough. And what you're doing and willing to take your time since September to build this opportunity for this forum, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And thank you to Brandon and everyone that's helped put this together, the past and now. It's such a great thing. So I wish you the best with what you're doing this evening. Thank you for that. I think that the reason I'm running again is because there are so many things that need to be addressed, and it's all based on not enough funding from the state. And it's really been since Act 10. So I've been on the board a long time. I have grandchildren. I have children that have graduated from KUSD, and my grandchildren are now there. And I'm not going to stop fighting for our students and our teachers.
Hi, my name is Tanvi. This question will be answered first by Andreas Mamalakis. Question 1 is, what do you see as the school board's role in supporting the district to mitigate bullying and discrimination?
I'm sorry, can you just phrase the last phrase?
Yeah. What do you see as the school board's role in supporting the district to mitigate bullying and discrimination?
So the school board, unfortunately, historically has been reactionary. They're not proactive. One of my main points is we need to regain control in the classroom. We need to look at the policies on discipline. We need to create a climate where all the students and the teacher feel safe, not just physically, but intellectually. And we need to do that in a nonpartisan, completely neutral way. So we don't hyper-focus on one person at the expense of others. We need to go back to the basic principles of teaching everybody the same way, treating everybody with dignity, and restoring the core values of behavior and discipline. Too many times, there's a disruption. The class loses its focus for the whole period. A lot of that is based on the policy at the administration level. We need a strong administration to support the principals who then support the teachers. And we need to get the resources in there to deal with the offenders in a mature way, not a reactionary, because school is also a place to make mistakes and be taught how to behave better. So there's a lot that can be done.
I take a different tact with this, and I think it starts with establishing a positive school environment, and it does start at the school board level. But it is also involving the school board holding the administration accountable to make sure that the policies are being carried out. And what I mean by that is we need to, first of all, establish that we know that students learn at different rates. They come from different backgrounds. They don't necessarily look, talk, or present themselves the same way as those of us here sitting on this stage. We need to celebrate inclusivity, and we need to include in our curriculum teaching methods that include empathy. It includes emotional regulation. It includes problem solving in a way that reduces conflicts among students. Students should also be empowered to identify issues when they arise, but we also need to recognize that there's also a mental health component to this as well. because we know that professionally trained counselors, professionally trained teachers are the first line of defense when it comes to identifying problems as they arise, and they need to be supported when it comes to carrying out the policies and making sure that students feel safe, because I think we can all agree at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is making sure that students feel safe in an environment where they are ready to learn. So that's my view on the school board's role in this case.
Well, I've worked in the schools, and I did it for many years, and I did home visits and everything. I think one of the most important things that we have to realize how diverse the population is. We have to embrace all students, no matter what their background. We have to be able to say, I care about you and what your future is, no matter where they come from, how they look. We have to support that. There's so many kids that are struggling, not because their parents are bad, but their parents are struggling in an economy that doesn't support families. That's the bottom line. It doesn't pay enough. And so they're spread very thin. So when I would go out and do home visits, what I would do is create solutions, help them create solutions, involve people. We have to involve our whole community, though, because in this day and age, when we see shootings in schools and things of that nature, some of the things that we've faced this past year has been very scary. So we need to make sure we're doing everything we can to support our families, our students, and always be aware if somebody says something, that they make a threat, that we're on it, and we make sure we follow up and use preventative methods. Our children need us for that and much, much more. My grandchildren, they have spent so much time learning about peace and learning how to get along. It's so important. And healthy minds.
Okay, thank you for this. This is a great question for me because I have a daughter with disabilities and she has been discriminated against in this district, which is part of the reason why I'm running. You know, in talking about bullying and discrimination, you know, my daughter has been in this school district for 13 years now. I've advocated greatly in this district for inclusive playgrounds. It started in elementary school. So, you know, I worked with the previous school board years ago, I think it was about 5 years ago, to make sure that all their playground guidelines were inclusive. Worked with the board, the director of facilities at the time, the superintendent, to rewrite those playground guidelines. So that is happening in this district, not as quickly as I'd like, but it is happening. But we also need to look at activities after school. You know, any of the field trips, graduations. My daughter has been left out of these activities, and that's not right. I think the current school board throws a lot of policy and levels of administration. I think we have about 4 to 5 supervisors for the principals, plus the director of school leadership, and then we have our superintendent. I think we need to cut some of those layers out so our people feel like they're being heard, and they need to be met with compassion. So we need to hold that school board accountable, as well as the administration and the staff at the schools, so that our students don't feel excluded. Thank you.
Hello again, I'm Lydia Orrick. This question will be answered first by Valerie Kretschmer. What do you think the district's biggest challenge is currently, and how do you plan to address it?
Yes, so the biggest challenge right now, I think, is the budget. We just had a referendum that failed. You know, we had COVID funding of $72 million, or ESSER funds, that were given to this district. We knew that this was going to be ending in the fall of 2024. They hired more staff. Over a 10-year period, there's been an increase in administration as well as support staff. So we hired more people, knowing those funds would be ending. So I don't think that's responsible budgeting. I think we need to take a look at the budget. We need to reduce some of that staff. Student enrollment has dropped by 17% in 10 years. If we dropped the administrative and support staff by the same as the student enrollment rate, we'd save about $11 million a year. So that's almost half that referendum, and that's not including benefits. So the savings are far greater than that. So I think, you know, the budgeting is the biggest hot topic right now in this race. Thank you.
That'll be, where's that? Andreas Mamalakis.
To piggyback off of Valerie here, I believe the biggest issue, not for the candidates, but for the school, is the management. The policies haven't changed for decades. We've seen the fruits of those policies and procedures. They continue to go down. And included in those policies is a mentality of blaming others, of not working with the resources that you have, finding a way to do better with what you have. Because we can wait for decades and blame the state that we don't have the money. We can blame the other political parties. We can blame everything, but we need to turn inside and say, what can we do with the resources we have and better manage them? As Valerie pointed out, there's money to be saved to get back in line with the budget, and there's probably even more money and more ways to restructure the finances to channel the resources to where they can have the greatest impact back to academics. So to me, it's the mindset that causes all these other issues. And if that mindset doesn't change and the mentality doesn't change, we can't expect change. Thank you.
Well, I think we're all in agreement that the biggest issue facing the district right now is the budget in light of the, failed referendum. But I take a different position when it comes to how we take, get a handle on this. In my professional work doing budget work for the state, I've worked with local school districts as they manage their own local budgets on how they implement the most successful programs to make sure that they have the best bang for their buck in terms of services for students. We have had candidates in this particular race that have gone on the campaign trail to suggest that they would be like Elon Musk for KUSD. And we've seen how Elon Musk has worked for KUSD. It has resulted in half of the staff at the Department of Education being cut, which will affect how FAFSA forms are filled out. It will affect the title funding that goes to schools, and it will affect special ed compliance when it comes to districts carrying out their IEPs and special ed funding. On top of that, we do have a $19 million budget deficit that does nothing to do with COVID because the Department of Ed literally said that the COVID funding needed to be used on operations in that moment in time to plug the holes that were a result of the recession at the time. The budget, we do need to look at the budget, and we will find efficiencies, but I suggest a much more creative and thoughtful approach, which in my opinion involves looking at the efficiencies, exploring shared services with partnering neighboring school districts, partnering with our CSAs to get services done, and doing it in a much more thoughtful way because we can't just cut ourselves to financial stability. Sorry.
Well, as the person that's served for a very long time on this board, I can tell you that we have gone over the budget with a fine-tooth comb. It's not something that ever goes by the wayside. It's constantly present. And the main reason that it is constantly present is the lack of funding. And when you look at special education especially, it's extremely costly. We want to be able to support all our special education students to the greatest amount we possibly can. Now, when I started and ran for the school board back in 2007, the special education percentage was 27% of funding. Now it's up to, I think, 31% funding. However, if we just got up to 60%, we would be able to cover the issues. There was 60% put aside, and it was approved by our governor, and we didn't get the funding. We need the people in the state of Wisconsin that are holding back funding for public schools to release it and let us do the job so we can do it better for all children, all families. Thank you.
Hey everybody, my name is Rishika and I go to Lakeview Technology. Question 3 is, given that the operational referendum for KUSD, which would have allowed an additional investment of $23 million into children's education and school safety measures, did not pass in February, what are your priorities for balancing the budget for the 2025-2026 school year? I'm so sorry. The question will be first answered by Rebecca Stevens.
So balancing this budget is going to be really difficult. I'm not going to say it's going to be an easy job. We will go line by line. We will break it down. We are already starting to look at it, but the bottom line is we don't have enough funding coming in no matter what. So we're going to have to get creative. There will be more people that are going to be, we shut 7 schools down last year, so it's not like we're not addressing this, but there's only so much you can cut. That was extremely difficult. Was it needed? The birth rate proved out that, yes, it was something we had to do. It was not easy. It was an awful decision to have to make. But we did the right thing. And then we are out there boosting our staff and our children, our students, to help support them in all the changes. But change is never easy when you have such a large group of students to begin with, even though it's smaller than it used to be. But I do remember going to Bullen, and I remember when a school sent a bunch of students over to us when I was in 6th or 7th grade there. And I tell you what, I welcomed those students so much. It was so good to have other people that needed to be in a school where we were all inclusive with a principal like Dr. Manji.
Valerie Kretschmer.
Thank you. So of course, balancing the budget is the biggest thing. So I know we keep going back to the state funding. One of the things I want to hit on is Act 20, which is for the reading literacy. So that's already being implemented in the district. I know the funding is being held up at the state, but Evers shot down Act 100, which is the framework for the spending of that money. So it is being held up. I know the legislation is working on it, but we need the governor to release the funding as well. So we can't blame one party or the other. It's got to be everybody on board. Again, my background is procurement efficiencies. So I think looking at the contracts, I've had knocking on doors and a teacher told me they had brand new books bundled up sitting in a basement somewhere and had asked, well, can't we sell them or repurpose them? So there is waste happening in this district. I'm sure there's basements full of supplies, and I've heard it from multiple people. Again, the administrative staff went up 24.7% in 10 years, and support staff went up 34% in 10 years, while student enrollment went down 17%. So if we drop the administration and support staff to match that enrollment rate, we'd be saving about $11 million a year, not including the benefits. So that's where I see where we could have the biggest savings so that we don't have to cut the programs for our students, because that's being said. Thank you.
Thank you. The points were all well spoken. I commend the difficult challenge for those who are on the board during this period of contraction. It's always easy to expand and very difficult to contract. Unfortunately, the board was slow to do it. I don't think the contraction went as far as it should have. We see by the ratio of increase of administration that it wasn't proportionally done. And we know already, based on birth rates and demographics, that another contraction is coming within 4 to 5 years. Because you can see the babies born today that'll start entering preschool and kindergarten. So we know it's coming again. So had you had this referendum pass, the next contraction would have even been that more painful, because we would have gotten used to that extra money. The other problem is people are leaving. They're leaving because they want a good education and they're turning away. So it's important not to overlook the academics with the focus on other stuff. I'm one of 12 kids in the family. We all went to all different types of schools throughout our life, public, private, all levels, homeschooling. I've seen schools do much more with less. So we just have to dig down, be creative, and there are many, many ways to refocus on academics that we will make do till the state releases more money. Thank you.
The suggestion that, that administration needs to be cut proportionally to the student enrollment is a little misguided because the administrative needs or the student needs have extremely expanded over the last several decades. To the extent that, if we cut administration just, by a flat amount, it's going to put more administrative duties on the teachers who are supposed to be in the trenches teaching the kids. So we need to start off with that. Can we find efficiencies? Yes, we absolutely can, and I have ideas why. First of all, what we need to do is we need to establish trust again in the district. And what I mean by that is there were more questions than answers when it came to the referendum. But I think we need to engage the community again. We need to get our parents together. We need to get our teachers together. We need to get our students together. We need to get everybody together so we can get on the same page and figure out what our collective priorities are. That is the way we're going to figure out what it is we're going to protect and what we're going to save in this district. Second thing, we need to, again, look at shared services. We need to look at the fact that our fund balance is $25 million above the school board policy. Like, we're currently way over. It's a one-time thing, but it is your money that should not be hoarded in the district slush fund. It needs to go back into the classrooms. That's what the taxpayers paid for. They need to go into the classrooms. And then the third thing, we absolutely do need to look at the state level, because what's going on at KUSD isn't unique to KUSD. It's going on all over the state. We need to advocate for better funding.
Hello, and my name is Anya Pancho, and I'm a junior at Lakeview Technology Academy. This question will be answered first by Carl O'Brien. What role should schools play in addressing student mental health needs?
I think student mental health needs are critically important because, again, it has everything to do with the feeling of safety and the feeling of support by students in this district. And I'm running in part on student safety because we know that there is mental health needs that are taking place in this district. Kids are coming to the table with a lot of trauma. Kids are coming to the table, with severe socioeconomic disparities. Kids need a lot of support, and it is so critically important that we have robust counselors on staff, trained social workers. It's important that we have teachers there that are there to support the emotional needs of our kids, through restorative justice practices, holding students holding other students accountable to, identify, concerns when they arise. All of that is critically important. The other thing I need to mention is that evidence-based measures are going to be what gets us through this mental health crisis. I know we have a lot of reactionary ideas about, metal detectors or school resource officers, but I would explore things like, I know that there's been research done on Zen dens, where I know that, having that space to be able to decompress and work through things is so massively important, because kids need a break too. They need to be supported with all of the demands that are going on in our schools right now. Mental health is very important.
Well, I'm blessed to run a mentoring program in KUSD, and I really enjoy that. Many of our students, in fact, I've got a mentor out there in the audience that's amazing, and they spend that one-on-one time with students that gives them that extra support. They're identified through a counselor or a social worker in the schools. It's just a great program. We need more mentors, by the way. I'm going to put a plug out there. The group that I work with are 55 and up, so it's just because that's the way the grant stands. But I don't think we can give our children enough support, the ones that are struggling and having a lot of issues. I also believe that they need brain breaks and they need a spot to decompress, as Carl mentioned. But getting outside and getting fresh air is so important. We live in a handheld device world, and I know when I'm on any screen too long, I tend to get kind of hyper and a little bit off, and I'm thinking, how does that impact a young child's brain, right? As an adult, I'm feeling it. And so I think it's really important that we figure out schedules where we can make sure they get brain breaks, where they can get outside, run around, get some fresh air if it's nice out, and also make sure we maintain the support we need through our social workers and our counselors in the schools. So thank you. Good question.
Yeah, so in regards to mental health needs, I think, a lot of the kids in this district don't feel safe They've had complaints about sexual harassment, other things in the school. I've heard instances where there's been knives in the school. Kids are not held accountable. They're back in school in these instances. Staff is not held accountable. Again, they're thrown, anytime somebody complains, they are given a policy to follow and multiple layers of administration. So they don't trust that the current administration and the board is going to do something. So I think we need to change that and engage with our parents and our students and our staff to see what they would like to see in these schools so that they feel heard and safe. Again, we have had issues with a gun being brought into my daughter's school, which we didn't find out from the board. They never communicated that to us. We found out from a news reporter who knocked on my husband's window when he went to pick her up from school, my daughter up from school. So that's just wrong. We need more communication from the district when these things are happening, and we need accountability. We need to know that something is being done. I've heard they're working on policies. I mean, I literally can walk up to my daughter's school, buzz myself in. They don't ask why I'm there or what my name is. So, you know, that needs to change. I agree with the concept that our kids need to be outside more. We need 30 minutes a day. We also need to make sure that they're inclusive. So my daughter cannot go on the playground like all the other kids. So we need to ensure that those spaces are inclusive and that kids have time outside as well. Thank you.
As many have acknowledged, even nationwide, there is an epidemic of mental health. Just recently, the new head of Health and Human Services, Kennedy, Mr. Kennedy, mentioned that so many kids are on antidepressants. And there was a recent study from Harvard showing that a lot of that could be corrected with diet, not by medication. We've taken on ourselves the responsibility of feeding the kids in school. So one element is to focus on the food and get them the right nutrition. Do the things that we can to alter the environment in the classroom. The number one stress, I've noticed, I have 3 kids in KUSD. I have 6 children, 3 are still in there, 3 are older. And the stress to me comes from the administration policies. We need better communication with the teachers, better support with the teachers, listen to them for suggestions. I wholeheartedly agree with the breaks. We should intersperse in between the classes more mental breaks, which has been suggested by many advocacy groups. My daughter tells me 10 minutes for lunch, which I think is probably unhealthy and a whole other host of issues. So there's a lot we can do to make the environment healthy. The last thing is we need to distinguish between true mental health and just the lower levels. We've taken on too much in the school. We're not therapists, we're not psychiatrists. We need to distinguish. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Celine. This question will be answered first by Andreas Mamalakis. What district policies could be added or improved to help prevent sexual assault and harassment and support students who have been impacted by it?
It's an interesting question because as part of my background, I was a juvenile detention officer in Milwaukee. And then I also worked up to the adult corrections. So I've seen the other side of the legal system. The number one thing is the attitude in the classroom. And second to that is the enforcement policies of the administration. Again, we need to create a climate that's not so sexualized in the classroom. And a lot of times that's a direct result of the policies of the administration. Secondly, when you teach the children clear boundaries and someone crosses those boundaries, we need clear discipline. No favoritism, back to old school. I'm one of 12. My mom used to use her wooden spoon. I'm not going back to that. It never hurt me that much, but we need the kids, and like my own, they respect discipline, they respect boundaries. We need to remove the offenders. They should not come back till they show that they're at a level of maturity that they can behave in the classroom responsibly. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to know what classroom where the curriculum is being delivered in a sexual manner or where children are being sexualized, because if we're talking about the things like LGBT inclusive policies or anything having to do with books containing LGBT content, I think a lot of students in this district deserve to be seen in the material that's being delivered to them, and that goes beyond, all the rhetoric you're seeing. It's really, really quite disingenuous to suggest that anything that supports the students for who they are and make them feel seen is sexualizing. But to the point about sexual harassment, I think we do have an issue in this district when it comes to recruiting and retaining teachers. Unfortunately, we're in a position where, underqualified staff are in the classroom, where teachers are on, individuals are on long-term substitute teacher licenses that frankly don't have any business being in front of kids. We need to strengthen reporting measures. We need to make clear our mandatory reporting guidelines, because teachers are mandatory reporters. We need to improve hiring and screening when it comes to those staff. We need to teach students about inappropriate behavior, support survivors, and provide trauma-informed responses, establishing a confidential system so that students can feel safe about reporting, and making sure administration is held accountable for failing to act on abuse cases.
Well, first and foremost, if you're looking at someone that's being sexually harassed or being bullied or anything like that, the student needs to know that it's okay to report it. And we need to make sure that our students understand if somebody is bullying them or being inappropriate toward them, who are the safe adults for you in that building? Because that is a priority. And Carl said, yes, teachers and staff they have to report. And it was one of the things that I followed up so strongly at McKinley Elementary when I worked there, because there were things that were happening that were not appropriate. And so we have to make sure at that building level, that communication piece is there. That's how you prevent things like that. You use preventative methods with teaching everyone how it is to be reported. Make sure that if somebody posts something inappropriate on Facebook and it's seen, because a lot of times this starts outside the school, and if we don't put a stop to that and we know about it, it's just as bad as if it happened in the school. So we have to work as a team and say, students, if you notice something that's inappropriate, report it. If it's on Facebook, wherever it is, that's a preventative method. We can all work, the adults, the teachers, the students, everyone working together to prevent that. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the question. So I know there's been cases in this district regarding this topic. It's happened with our students, unfortunately, and I do feel that the issues are not addressed by the staff or the board. I know one particular case of a girl on a bus who was assaulted in elementary school, and those two students that assaulted her were left in the school, so this girl is scared to go to school. So that should not be happening. A lot of times either kids don't report it, or when parents report it, again, policy is thrown, multiple layers of administration, they have to investigate, it takes time, nothing changes in the meantime. So I think there's a lot of distrust from the parents as well as the kids that if they report, nothing is gonna happen. So that needs to be changed. We need more strong policies to deal with that, and they need to be enforced mainly. I agree with Carl that the staff needs to have more extensive background checks. We've had multiple instances in this district where teachers have been hired who have had ongoing cases that are out there, and they were reported for cases in our schools. So that should not be happening. Parents and students need to feel heard, and this issue needs to be addressed, and we need stronger policies on this. Thank you.
Hello again, my name is Lydia. This next question will be answered first by Valerie Kretschmer. How can the district better engage with families from diverse cultural, religious, and linguistic backgrounds? Yeah,
So I think having more community events where parents and children with diverse backgrounds needs to be happening. We need to be doing more focus groups. We need to be reaching out. I think one of the most underserved areas, obviously, is the kids with the IEPs and the disabilities. I've had multiple parents with kids with disabilities telling me issues that they're having in the district about accommodations, IEPs not being met, as well as myself having the same issue. So I think we need to engage with our communities more focus groups, asking suggestions on what people want to see, going into different areas in this town. We have a very diverse town. It's an amazing town. We have all different kinds of races and ethnic backgrounds. So I think we need to be going out into the communities, not just asking them to come into the schools to meet with them so that they feel comfortable in their environments. And obviously having somebody that kind of speaks that language, like if you're, for example, Spanish speaking in a Spanish neighborhood or a Latina neighborhood, or somebody with disabilities that understands IEPs and that background, so special ed teachers or head of special ed to meet with those parents to address those issues. So that's what I think needs to happen in this district. Thank you.
All right, next up is Andreas Manolakis.
I think one way to do this is just to introduce this topic into the curriculum. Again, our focus is education, our focus is the classroom. If we have a balanced curriculum that incorporates this topic and be creative, you can pull in different people from different backgrounds as guest speakers. It could be parents, it could be friends, it could be business leaders representing different religions, different cultures, and we can do this in a balanced way throughout the year. It would serve my other purposes. Again, we're back to academics, and this is an excuse to focus on reading, but incorporating the cultures. Focus on writing, but incorporate diversity. So there are ways to be creative again, focus on the classroom. Again, I'm pulling out from the community. We have great groups on the outside. We're not focused on our first mission. And we can definitely address this in the classroom in a fun and creative way. Thank you.
The diversity of our community is our greatest asset, and in every way that we function as a district, it needs to be reflective of that diversity. And I think this can be done in a multifaceted way. And, from a school board perspective, I think we can do it in a number of ways. Number one being, back in the day, back when I was 18 years old going to school board meetings, they used to go to take the school board meetings to neighborhood schools, and it wasn't sitting at that ivory tower on 52nd Street. They went to Lincoln, they went to Pleasant Prairie, they went to all these other, schools to have the meetings, get to know their teachers, get to know their students, get to know their families. I think we need to get back into that practice so that school board members really know what's going on, because you have to meet people where they're at in order to, to find the needs. When it comes to the curriculum, we need to reduce our reliance on standardized testing, because in my opinion, I think standardized testing does not reflect the realities of our youth, because there is so much diversity. When it comes to special education, we need to make sure that our diagnostic tools and evaluations account for the cultural and linguistic differences that exist between our students, so that kids are not misdiagnosed for special education services when there's a cultural difference between the teacher and the student. We also need to look at our bilingual programs and strengthen them, because, okay, I'll leave it there.
I'll pick it up. So, what Carl's talking about as far as having that connection to all different backgrounds and students. So Stoker is a school that has a lot of bilingual students, or students that are learning English. So they haven't, conquered that yet, but they're working on it. We have other programs definitely that need more help at the high school levels. And I will be the first person to tell you that we need to be able to find the people that we can hire. It's a certain type of person to teach that, to bring that out. I want to just say on another note, at the Kindness Breakfast this year over at Mahone, I met a young lady from Haiti, and they moved here because they lived in a war-torn country. And she spoke French, English, and Spanish, right? Beautiful young lady. I chatted with her, but her fears that she has about what's going on you know, with immigrants. I mean, can you imagine how that must feel to her and all that she has already been through, the trauma? So we can't do enough to support our students. We need to all be cognizant of that, and we need to help. We need to teach our children to be helpers too, and our grandchildren to be kind. And how do we work together to support all cultures? I love the idea of bringing in different foods. That's what we did when we were in elementary school, and it was fun.
Hi, my name is Rebecca 𝐿𝐲𝐬𝐻. This question will first be answered by Rebecca Stevens. Question 7 is, many teachers have requested more prep time throughout the day. How can the school board work with district leadership to address these needs?
It's a great question, and it's a really tough question too. There's only so many hours in a day, right? And the thing that we were hoping we could do to accomplish with the referendum was a big piece of that was the prep time. But we have to go back and look at it from a different angle now. We can't give up. We have to figure out how to get our teachers more prep time. Again, I go back to funding that is getting in the way, the lack thereof. Special education for voucher schools is 90% we pay. We're getting 30-some% for our students, and we pay, and we provide the people to screen in private schools too. So we have to get together and figure this thing out, because they have to have more time for prep time. There are more challenges now than ever in schools, in public schools. And if we don't all work together and pull together to say this is a priority for our to save our staff and to support them, then there's something seriously wrong with the way that we're approaching things. We have to figure it out. And it's a tough one, it really is, but we gotta make it happen.
Thank you. So I know that's a hot topic. It's been discussed many times before. So I looked at other school districts, and I found that Waukesha School District has about 80 minutes of prep time in their high schools. I think our high school teachers were getting about 50 from one that I spoke to. So I think we need to align with other school districts to get them that prep time. We need to be creative with the budget. Again, going back to cost savings, to help fund that extra prep time for our teachers so that they're able to prepare for their classes better and feel heard and respected and have that time for their students. So we do need to be a little bit more creative in how we do it, because the referendum did not pass. But I also agree that our teachers do need more prep time. It does not match other school districts. Thank you.
This is a really tough question, because it is very constrained by the budget. It's constrained by time. My father was a professor. Several of my sisters were principals. And I was on the school board of a small parochial school. And teachers love their students so much that there were some teachers working there till 9 p.m. And I said, okay, now I got to kick you out and lock the door, because they would continue working all night because they have such love of their students and their lesson plans. So we have to do our best to find the time, find the resources, and also look at the opposite side. Maybe take off administrative burdens on the teachers to free up more time for their classroom and for their students. So there is no easy solution to this one. We just have to look at it from all angles. And it's something I think we all agree on. Thank you.
I've been going to school board meetings for a long time, and I've been seeing a lot of teachers going to the podium at school board meetings and telling the school board that, you know, enough when it comes to the lip service about prep time, and something needs to be done. Personally, it is unconscionable that we have gone this long without expanded prep time for teachers. The district has had to cut its way to the bottom, where it's literally a race to the bottom. My campaign is based on teacher retention and recruitment, because we know that is so crucial to student success. And if we don't have work conditions, prep time, salary and benefits that are not aligned with that of neighboring school districts, we're going to lose our best teachers to those school districts. and we can't afford to do that anymore. So one small piece that I think teachers would appreciate is expanding that prep time, and we do have to get creative with it because we know that teachers are burnt out. We know that teachers are coming home. They don't have, the support they need in school, so they're literally taking everything home and they're working at home because they love their kids that much and because they want to do best by them. So I am in agreement with everybody here that we do need to expand prep time. Increasing our investment in public education is critically important, but we also do need to get creative at the district level when it comes to our budgeting and make sure that prep time is guaranteed. And it also needs to be established in policy and in the employee handbooks so that they know that their prep time is protected too.
Hello, my name is Anya. This question will be first answered by Carl Bryan. What is your favorite program that KUSD runs, and how do you plan on improving or expanding it?
Well, I would say music. As a student in KUSD at one point in time back in the Stone Age, I used to play tenor saxophone and was in band for quite a long time. I loved music, and it's carried on in my personal passions as well because I'm a guitar player too. But anyway, I know our music programs are critically important because, a strong, well-funded music program in KUSD is what keeps kids engaged and interested in their work and interested in their academics. It opens new brain pathways so that they learn better, they absorb the content that they're learning more. It's the benefits of a well-funded music program is absolutely immeasurable and at all costs needs to be protected in this district. I say that because the school district is looking at, of course, tough budgetary times, but at all costs, no amount of cutting is worth the sacrifice that could be made to our music program. If anything, I would guarantee if I was on that school board that music will be protected because it is a lifeline for a lot of kids. And that's my response.
Well, I have a lot of favorites, but music is my number one. I was involved in choir, and it was my reason sometimes for going to school. It just, that was a good reason to get up and get motivated as a teenager. And sometimes, it's a little rough with that, I've noticed with my own children. And they've been blessed to have those opportunities. The other thing is the theater programs. They're absolutely amazing. It's just, I go to these plays and I bring my grands, and I'm always blown away by the amazing work they do, and it's just gives them a chance to express themselves in a different way. And we know the brain does open up more pathways when they have those opportunities, and it helps them be better learners. And then I think we can't cut. We have to figure out how to save them, and we will. I feel confident that we will. And band and orchestra are great too. Absolutely. I had kids that did both. And so I can't tell you how much I appreciate music, so thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. The arts program in general at KUSD is well known. I've been to some of the high school plays. They're phenomenal. I know we had a great director of that program who was tied in with Broadway, so I know it's a great program. The music program is also great. My daughter was part of the band. She's in the choir right now. And I have to give a special shout out to the Bradford dance coach, who is Kelly Griffin. She is an amazing lady. She's actually my daughter's dance teacher. So she has really worked hard to put on a great program. Just recently went to her, I think it's Embrace program is what it was called, where she had the kids with disabilities open up the show. I was there at the high school during the day watching that show. So I kind of foresee Kelly, she might not like this, but heading a dance program also in this district. I know there were a couple of athletes that she had in the program that are taking her class. I know it's good for athletes to take dance. It's good for their, their different moves in their sports as well. So I also agree that we should be keeping the arts programs here. We should not be threatening our staff and our students that we're going to cut these programs. We have to be more creative. Our students are fearful these programs are going to be cut, and I promise that I'm going to make sure that that happens being on this board. Thank you.
it's not avoiding the question, but I would think the program that I like the most is any program that makes the children smile. Anything that gets them out of the dryness of academics, which we have to do, it's a part of life, and this includes the band, it includes chorus. I was in a large family. My parents made all of us take a musical instrument because they thought that was important. We were also singing in the choir, boys and girls. But I also want to add, since it really is a close tie, they're all wonderful. I have a daughter that was just in the chorus, another one last year that was within the bands, wonderful programs, but I also have a son at Lakeview, and it's really neat when he comes home and he made something from scratch. And there's the pride of creativity, which we say that's academic, and one thing we need to define all these areas as academic, not extracurricular. They all develop the brain, they all develop the emotion, they all build confidence. So I want a restore to trades, a restore to hands-on craft projects, and definitely keep all these arts in. Thank you.
Hi again, I'm Celine. This closing statement will be answered first by Andreas Mamalakis. Please share with the audience what advice you would give to your younger self, and if there's anything you want to say that you weren't able to.
Probably be a better listener, be a little more obedient, trust the school. Advice to myself. That's a tough question for a philosophy major. I could go on all night. As far as with the school board, I think get out and do more things. Become more active with the programs. You know, and one of the things we have to do is bring out the people that are shy, bring out the people that are sensitive, which goes back to one of my main points of creating a safe, healthy, energized environment, including all the elements, from breaks to good teacher, good atmosphere, good policies, good support. When that all gets together, it really works really well. And you can see it in the teacher, you can see it in the students. So yeah, for advice to me, just try more and get those kids out and do more. And trust the leadership. And we pray that we have good leadership worthy of that trust. Thank you.
My advice would be you are your best possible advocate. And the reason why I say that is you know yourself best, you know who you are, you know the potential that you have. And if you're not there to stand up for yourself, who is going to be the one to speak for you? And that has guided me in every way that I have been on this journey. Since I started on the school board, in my advocacy work and the professional work that I do for DPI serving public schools. I believe that there is a better way forward. I believe that there is a lot of room for us in this district to advocate for better policies and better funding that's going to get us in a position so that teachers and students and communities feel like we are in the best possible school system, that outcomes are, we can continue to deliver on outcomes. But it begins with advocating for yourself and what you believe in. And I think it's really critical that, you know, we have these conversations, and it is so great that the first forum that we're having here is one that's being led by students, because that perspective is so critically important. So, I mean, that would be the advice that I would give. So thank you.
Okay, to my younger self, right? Wow, that was a long time ago, I think. I think that I would just say those strengths that I had to even make them stronger. So if I saw somebody being bullied, I didn't hesitate to walk up and let that person know it's not, that's not okay. And if I was being bullied myself, I found another person one lady that I loved so much, Dolores Bennett, and she saved me from being bullied. And because I told her what was happening, she goes, "I've got you, Beck. I got you, Becky," you know? And so I think that that is so important, no matter what time, when you live, when you were a kid. It's just so important to stand up for one another and support each other. And I see you all doing that here, and I'm really proud of you guys for doing that. Thank you.
So I was in your shoes over 20 years ago. I'm going to date myself. So I never, ever saw myself getting into politics or running for a school board or any of that. I just was going to work and, you know, be successful in that, and I did that. But I became a parent, and that changed everything. My daughter having a disability, I found out before she was born that she was going to have a disability. It opened my eyes to what is going on in this world, that it is not an inclusive place. There is bullying happening even today. So I'd say, you know, get involved, advocate for yourself and others, speak up. Don't be afraid to call, you know, your board members, your legislators, their state assembly representatives. We vote for them. They represent us. So do that. You know, we need to get back to balancing this budget for the school district. We need clear communication with our community, our parents, our students. We need more collaboration between them and our businesses that are local here. I've talked to our administration about reaching out to local businesses for funding opportunities as well. So we need to work with staff, students, and parents so we can address challenges that are happening in this district and provide the best possible education for our students. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Anya. We would like to thank Destiny Garcia, Maggie Campbell, and Brandon Morris from Building Our Future for their guidance, as this event was made possible through their leadership. We appreciate the candidates for taking the time to speak with us, and we hope all of you watching will cast your vote on April 1st. The student voice matters, and by bringing attention to what's important to us, we hope to elevate more of Kenosha's youth to find their voice.
Hey there again. My name is Rishika. Last year, when we had our youth-led forum, we were asked the question, what's possible when you bring people together around a shared result? Well, together, a handful of KUSD students have created an amazing yearly tradition in Kenosha, the Youth-Led School Board Candidate Forum. We thank every one of you for your support, and we hope to continue this phenomenal event for many, many years to come. And now, to close out the evening, I'll hand it over to Brandon and Maggie from Building Our Future, because even though this is a student-led event, we're always happy to welcome those who are young at heart.
She wrote that herself. That was good. That got me last night during dress rehearsal. Can we give a round of applause for our students? And can we give a round of applause for our candidates? Thank you all so much for coming out today. It means the world to both us at Building Our Future and our students and the candidates. We just want to acknowledge that you guys took time to come here and prepare, and we can't thank you enough for that. I also just want to brag on these students. I have been with them since September, getting to know them professionally and personally and as students, and they are top-notch. They are smart and they are kind, and they are showing leadership abilities from a very young age, and I couldn't be more proud to know these girls. So thank you all for hanging out with me as I learned this program, and I just want to celebrate them and the work that they have done to get us to this point. We also want to thank Gateway for hosting us this evening. This is a great facility, and we are so thankful for them allowing us to be in this space. And we also want to give a big shout out to Upload Partners who have worked with us for all of the tech side of things and are live streaming this event. So this event is being recorded and it is on our social media. So if you want to go back and watch it, it will be on our Facebook page. So you have the ability to send it to a friend, send it to a family member, and have them have an informed vote, which is on April 1st. So don't forget to go out and vote. With that, that is the end of our program. So thank you for coming and have a good night.